All right, everyone. Welcome back to the land of Chem. I am your host and the author. My name is Jeffrey Grubb. Thank you all so much for joining me. All right, everyone. Welcome back to episode 32, the primary reaction chamber of the bent pyramid. So in today's episode, I'm going to be discussing some reconstruction that is found inside of this chamber that does not appear to be a part of the original structure itself. I'm also going to be explaining the mechanisms of operation and the chemical reactions that were occurring inside of this chamber to produce the product that was being created inside of this pyramid. At this point, I will simply say that what I've presented thus far regarding the function of the red and bent pyramids of Dashur is just the tip of the iceberg. I have some major revelations regarding the function of these two structures coming up soon, so just stay tuned. To all of the subscribers here on the Land of Chem, you all are amazing. Thank you so much for your support. If you liked the video, leave it a like. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, leave that in the comment section below. I think that is it for the intro, so without further ado, let's get right to it. All right, everyone, here we go with tonight's episode. So the first few images are some pictures of the bent pyramid from my 2020 and 2021 research expeditions to Egypt. So if you're not familiar with my theory regarding the function of the bent pyramid that I've presented here on the Land of Chem YouTube channel, I highly recommend you check out episode 7 and episode 17 regarding the function of this structure, and then circle back to tonight's episode. So this first picture is Yusuf and I preparing to enter the bent pyramid, and this was my first opportunity to go inside of this structure in 2020. And this next picture is from my 2021 research expedition. And everyone always talks about the size of the Great Pyramid and how impressive the pyramids of Giza are. Well, in my opinion, the bent pyramid of Dashur is equally as impressive, and it immediately commands your attention as you walk towards this absolutely immense structure. It is unbelievable how impressive this structure truly is when you see it up close in person. So at this point, you may be asking yourself, what was the function of the bent pyramid, and why was this massive structure built so close to the red pyramid of Dashur? Well, I will go directly to a quote from the chapter The Third Degree to answer that question. A query: our brethren of the order of Chem understood that management of the ammonia being manufactured in the red pyramid would present many challenges, from long-distance transportation to storage and application. Before being suitable for those purposes, the gaseous and dissolved forms of ammonia required conversion into a solid-state chemical. The bent pyramid was therefore constructed alongside the red pyramid, capitalizing on the proximity of these two facilities for the production of this more practical compound. So, ladies and gentlemen, the bent pyramid of Dashur was designed to transform the aqueous ammonia solution that was being produced inside of the red pyramid into a more practical solid-state chemical known as ammonium bicarbonate. In today's episode, I'm going to be describing exactly how that chemical was produced inside of the bent pyramid's primary reaction chamber. All right, here are some diagrams of the bent pyramid of Dashur so that we can briefly review the structure's configuration. So starting here at number 5 is your Nile River Valley Temple, leading to the causeway, which brings water into your external reservoir. You will see here that the external reservoir also surrounds the satellite pyramid on the south side of the structure, and I'm going to be discussing the function of the bent pyramid's satellite pyramid as related to the movement of the two stone valves located here in the western pump shaft in an upcoming episode. Now, inside of the structure, you have your primary reaction chamber, your lower separation chambers, your northern pump shaft, your western pump shaft, and a series of two stone valves. And here in this diagram, you can see a close-up of those interior components of the bent pyramid. So let's start on the north side. This is the northern pump shaft leading down into your lower separation chambers. This here on the left side of the diagram is your upper primary reaction chamber. You can see here, this is the western pump shaft. These are the two stone valves that I mentioned in the previous slide. And this is a connecting shaft system that leads from your upper primary reaction chamber down into the lower separation chambers. And on this diagram, this is a close-up of the western shaft of the bent pyramid and those two to the operation of that satellite pyramid, which I mentioned before. And you can see here, this is the shaft system that connects your upper primary reaction system down into the lower separation chambers. And here is another exceptional three-dimensional diagram of the bent pyramid so that you can see all of those individual components. So again, this is your northern pump shaft. This is your western pump shaft. Your upper primary reaction chamber is here. Lower separation chambers are here. In today's episode, we are going to be discussing the function of this upper primary reaction chamber system. All right, ladies and gentlemen, next up on tonight's episode is an exclusive tour inside of the bent pyramid's primary reaction chamber. So I put this picture in because I'm going to discuss the large platform that has been constructed by the dynastic Egyptians inside of the primary reaction chamber. And you can very clearly see the separation between the original megalithic stones that were used to build the structure itself and the much smaller blocks that were utilized to construct this platform, which was built by the dynastic Egyptians. And I'm going to put in a video showing this area of the structure here in just a moment. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are inside the primary reaction chamber of the bent pyramid. So we're looking back here towards the western shaft, and I wanted to point out a few features in here. All right, so to the right, you can see the clear separation between this part of the structure, which was original, and these smaller stone blocks here, which was restoration by the dynastic Egyptians. And the building of this entire platform inside of this primary reaction chamber is not a part of the original structure. And I've shown the configuration of the original chamber in previous posts on Instagram that showed what the empty chamber would have looked like without this platform. Because again, this was an empty chamber originally. And as we walk up the staircase here, you can notice the significant deterioration and erosion to the stone inside the structure. It looks rounded almost. And I will try to continue to film as best I can as I carefully climb this staircase. And again, looking here at these small stone blocks that compose the wall and platform in the middle of the chamber. Looking back here and up into the vault of the primary reaction chamber. And even last year when we were here, there were tons of bats inside of this structure. Not so many now. But again, I think the most important thing to note inside this chamber is the erosion. And I think that was an indication of the chemical reactions that were occurring inside of this structure. Pretty unusual. And this is why Dashur is one of my favorite sites, if not my favorite site in Egypt, because it's the most unsanitized and left in its original condition, particularly the inside of the Red Pyramid. Because yesterday was an extremely busy day at the Giza Plateau, but we've only seen a couple groups of other tourists inside and here in Dashur. And then looking down into the pit, again, they have dated these logs to the dynastic period, and this is Lebanese cedar. But you can also see that these have been mortared in place. You can see the mortar over there in the corner on the right side that's holding these logs in place. These logs here on the side do not go all the way into the structure. They're fitted into holes, and I've shown those holes in previous videos. And I do not believe they are part of the original construction, nor are they essential in maintaining the stability of the chamber itself. And you can see another one of those cedar logs here in the ceiling. Again, that is not an architectural component in any way that adds stability to the stone. That stuff was all added later. Pretty cool. And man, it sure does look like there's a big hole in the bottom of the floor right there. But stay tuned, guys. Lots more coming up here from the land of Chem in Dashur. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now that you've seen that video showing the inside of the primary reaction chamber, I just wanted to show a couple of close-up images so that you can really see the condition of stone inside of this chamber. And you can see, ladies and gentlemen, how deteriorated and eroded the stone inside of this primary reaction chamber really is. And I find that to be highly unusual that there has been such deterioration inside of this structure. And here are some pictures from the upper vault, or what remains rather, of the upper vault of the primary reaction chamber. And you can see this little piece of wood that has been stuck up there that I showed in the video. And here are some pictures of what remains of the platform that was constructed inside of this chamber by the dynastic Egyptians. All right, here on this diagram, you can see the proposed evolution of the interior condition of the bent pyramid's primary reaction chamber. So you can see here on the left side of this diagram, this is the original condition of this chamber. And you can see that there was originally a pristine tiered upper vault system, very similar to what we find inside of the Red Pyramid of Dashur. However, when you go inside of this chamber today, this is what you will find: an incredibly deteriorated and eroded interior chamber. So this researcher proposes that in the process of building this platform inside of the chamber, the interior chamber walls were destroyed and expanded in order to build this platform inside of the chamber. However, I would highly, highly disagree with that. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever that the perfection of this original tiered vault would be destroyed in order to fit a platform inside of the chamber. You do not need to destroy the walls in any way to build this interior platform. What I would propose is that when the dynastic Egyptians came around, they found the chamber in this already deteriorated condition. And you can see from that video that these wooden logs that have been inserted here into the chamber have absolutely no function whatsoever in terms of structural integrity of that chamber. These wooden logs were not here when this chamber was in this condition. They are absolutely not a part of the original construction. When this chamber was originally built, it was just like this, with absolutely no wood in here whatsoever. That wood is not needed to hold up the chamber. Just take a look at the Red Pyramid of Dashur. There is absolutely no wood holding up the vaulted section of those chambers, and it is absolutely not necessary here in the construction of the primary reaction chamber of the bent pyramid. I would propose that these wooden beams were added in the construction process of the platform that is now located inside of this chamber. So just keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that this on the left side of this diagram is the original configuration of this primary reaction chamber. It had a tiered upper vault, and this is the condition that you will find it in today, including this platform that has been very clearly built by the dynastic Egyptians. And you can see on this next diagram that the wooden beams that are inside of this chamber are intended to be integrated in the platform itself. They are not intended as structural support for the original chamber. They are embedded directly into the platform that was obviously constructed by the dynastic Egyptians. And you can see here another close-up of this platform reconstruction, and you can see these wooden beams are not a part of the structural integrity of the main chamber, but rather they were just used to build this platform by the dynastic Egyptians. All right, so before we proceed with the chemistry and mechanisms of operation that are involved inside of the primary reaction chamber, I just wanted to show you this. So this was taken by the Asita project in their, I believe, 2012 expedition inside of the Bent Pyramid. And this expedition was way before the structure was ever officially open to the public. So they brought a carbon dioxide meter inside of the Bent Pyramid, and you can see the reading of the concentration of carbon dioxide inside of this structure. Now, you may notice that 717 parts per million is not a significantly high concentration of carbon dioxide. if you were in an occupied building. So the numbers for occupied spaces, like for schools and office buildings, go from anywhere from 800 parts per million to 1,000 parts per million. So we're right in that neck of the woods. However, the bent pyramid is not an occupied office building. It is not a school where there's tons of people breathing inside of this structure. There is absolutely no one other than the individual taking the reading inside of this structure to be producing carbon dioxide. I will also mention that there is extremely good airflow inside of the bent pyramid. You can feel the wind moving inside of this structure. There is plenty of air moving in and out of these chambers. So I find it very unusual that the concentration of carbon dioxide is this high in a completely empty structure with 0 people in it, and a structure that has significant amount of airflow. Compare that to the red pyramid of Dashur, where there is absolutely 0 airflow inside of that structure. And I've shown in previous episodes that they actually have an air hose leading into the red pyramid to facilitate the movement of air inside of that structure, which is very, very different than what we find in the bent pyramid. So in my opinion, the concentration of CO2 inside of this structure is unusually high for a structure that has 0 people inside of it. And I believe that there is a specific reason for this elevated carbon dioxide, which we'll be getting to here in just a moment. I also have some other research in store regarding this topic specifically, so just stay tuned. All right, here on this slide, you can see a depiction of the chemical reaction that I am proposing was occurring inside of the bent pyramid's primary reaction chamber. So the first step in the process is going to fill your primary reaction chamber with the aqueous ammonia solution that was extracted from the red pyramid. Next step in the process is the percolation of carbon dioxide. That carbon dioxide is collected as a byproduct from the manufacturing sequence inside of the red pyramid. That gas is percolated up through your aqueous ammonia solution, which produces a reaction between the ammonia and carbon dioxide that generates solid ammonium bicarbonate. This solid ammonium bicarbonate is water soluble, and it will continue to be produced and dissolved into the solution until the solution has reached saturation, at which point the solid ammonium bicarbonate will begin to precipitate out of the solution. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the long story short explanation and a small diagram, the chemical reaction that was occurring inside of the primary reaction chamber to produce that solid ammonium bicarbonate. All right, now that I've explained the chemical reactions that were occurring inside of the primary reaction chamber, let's now move into the mechanisms of operation that were involved in making this reaction work. So the first step in the process is going to be closing stone valve number 1. Now this is the stone valve that is closest to the primary reaction chamber. Once this stone valve has been closed, you can then introduce your aqueous ammonia solution into the primary reaction chamber. That aqueous ammonia solution will begin to fill the primary reaction chamber, and then your carbon dioxide gas is then percolated up through the ammonia solution. This is going to produce a reaction that generates that solid ammonium bicarbonate. Now, the next step in the process is to mix your solution and retrieve any carbon dioxide gas that has floated into the upper vault of that chamber. So the next step in the process is going to be filling your lower separation chamber system. Remember, this stone valve is currently closed. So when you fill this lower separation chamber system with water, the water will rise in the lower separation chamber system. It will fill the shaft leading up to the western pump shaft in between these stone valves. The water will continue to rise until it has reached a level equal to the level of water in the exterior reservoir. At this point, your stone block is inserted into the northern pump shaft, which will compress the water in the lower system, forcing it up into the western pump shaft. So now your western pump shaft is also completely filled with water, and this stone valve is still closed. At this point, your stone block is inserted into the western pump shaft, and your stone valve is opened. As the stone block moves down the pump shaft, that will force the water in this shaft system into the primary reaction chamber, pushing the ammonia solution up into the upper vault, thus collecting any remaining undissolved carbon dioxide that is in the upper vault of this system. And this chamber is completely filled with that aqueous ammonia solution that now contains your solid ammonium bicarbonate product. At this point, your product slurry containing your ammonia solution, carbon dioxide gas, and the solid ammonium bicarbonate product has been created inside of the primary reaction chamber. So at this point, you are going to close stone valve number 1 to isolate the solution while the remainder of the system is now drained. So the next step in the process is going to be draining this system. So you're going to remove all of the water from this entire system. You can then open stone valve number 1. This will allow the aqueous solution containing your reactants and product to flow into this shaft system. This stone valve is also closed so that the water flows directly from the primary reaction chamber into this middle part here and down into your lower separation chamber system. So ladies and gentlemen, that is the first sequence of mechanisms that are involved in producing that ammonium bicarbonate within the primary reaction chamber of the bent pyramid. I realize that this is difficult to visualize with just my explanation, but just stay tuned. We have some things coming up very, very soon that will show you exactly how this structure operated. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so those are the series of mechanisms that were involved in the operation of the bent pyramid's primary reaction chamber and a brief overview of the chemical reactions that were occurring inside of this structure. So at this point, you may be asking yourself, for what purpose were they using this solid ammonium bicarbonate? Well, the long story short answer is it was fertilizer. My theory is that the Egyptian pyramids were designed to produce chemicals on an industrial scale for a civilization that was predominantly focused on agriculture and industrial manufacturing. And that is exactly what we see in the history of the ancient Egyptians. However, ladies and gentlemen, and as I implied in the introduction to today's episode, there is more to the function of the bent pyramid and to that of the Egyptian pyramids than I have even proposed thus far here on this channel. So remember that the configuration of these chambers was meticulously engineered. They are designed with functional architecture that, when integrated with the geology that was utilized in the construction of these pyramids, is intended to produce another astonishing mechanism of operation that I will be revealing very soon. So just stay tuned. And just a quick reminder that limited first edition print copies of the Land of Chem book are now available at www.thelandofchem.com. So if you want to help support the channel, just go to the website. You can pick up a copy of the book, grab a t-shirt. Either way, all the orders mean more to me than words can possibly ever describe. So I will simply say thank you. All right, everyone, that is it for today's video. This was episode 32, the primary reaction chamber of the bent pyramid. There is a whole lot more coming up regarding the function of this structure here on the Land of Chem YouTube channel, so just stay tuned. Also coming up, episode 33. I have a huge surprise in store for everyone. I won't spoil it at this point, but I will simply say this is something that you have all been very, very eager to see, so just stay tuned. To all of the subscribers here on the Land of Chem YouTube channel, thank you so much for your support. It means everything to me. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm at the Land of Chem. My website is www.thelandofchem.com if you want to pick up a copy of the book. Thank you all so much for your support. Like the video if you like it. Leave a comment below if you have any questions, comments, and feedback. I think that is it for today's episode, so I will see you next time.